Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation from Pastor Dave McMurray from First Baptist Church of Blackwood.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, I'm praying for teamwork, that each of us here tonight, every citizen, every elected official, every volunteer, every parent, every taxpayer, Gloucester Township would be filled with team players, and we would be team builders. And we don't always have precisely the same objective, but we know that we got to get along, we got to cooperate. It's give and take, and that we would think more about the team than just my preference. So give us that heart, please, God, that there would be a willingness to give and to take, to bend where we can, and to make this town what we all be, a place to live, to work, to play. So that's my request, God, that we would be team players, team builders, and it would show attitudes and actions. And we could look at our neighbors and smile and say, I'm making my little contribution to making this place an easier and more productive place to live. God, that's my prayer. Do you give us that kind of heart, that kind of passion? In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We are using an electronic amplifying and recording device, and in order to obtain an audible and clear record, we request that all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly into the microphone. The recording device is to be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of the minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Roll call.
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Ms. Grace? Here. Mr. Mignon?
Here.
Mrs. Stubbs? Mrs. Winters?
She's on vacation.
Mrs. Estrada?
Here,
Mr. Mercado?
he will be late.
Mr. Carlemere?
Here.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
Strongolo?
Here.
Chief Harkins?
Here.
Mr. Chadwell?
Here.
We have tonight the presentation, the Citizens Police Academy graduation. Chief Harkins.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Vice President, would you join me down as we honor and recognize our citizens here tonight that have taken our Citizens Police Academy. But also asked to join me up here, Deputy Chief McHenry, Captain Giddens, Lieutenant Cabana, Corporal McLaughlin. Officer Walden needs to take his picture, but he can join us up here also. So I asked them to come up here as we recognize these folks who went through our Citizens Police Academy. And this is run through our Community Relations Bureau. It's one of our hallmark programs. We haven't been able to do this program because of the pandemic for the last couple of years. A great set of classes that were held. It's a 14-week program. So all of you that are here that are graduates of it, I really commend you because you took 14 weeks every week to come out and spend time and learn about your police department, how things run. And, you know, our officers that are the instructors, it's every week it's something different, right? You get to see a little bit different aspect. I haven't seen you since the first night. You know, I do kind of like an intro and answer the questions and things like that. I try to set the table for those that are actually getting the things done. And but I monitor it very closely, you know, and I think I couldn't be happier with how Lieutenant Cabana, Corporal McLaughlin, and Officer Jim Walden, who's over here, ran this, how it came out. Again, I became chief in 2019. I was always involved with Citizens Police Academy, but then the pandemic whacked us after I think we had started the first week. And some of you came back, and I really appreciate those of you that were at that time, but came back. So a little bit about the Citizens Police Academy. I'm a big fan of it. It is a little overview. You get to see how the operations of the police department is viewed. You get to see what's going on, kind of like a behind the scenes. We kind of show you just about everything that we can show you legally, how things go, including police operations, police communications, what the detectives do in criminal investigations, our juvenile family programs, traffic safety. You know, there is a method to the madness of how we investigate traffic complaints. I hope you saw that. Our canine unit that we're very proud of, our special response team, the capabilities that those officers have. Crime scene, we have an outstanding crime scene unit, and hopefully you learned a little bit of what really crime scene processing is versus what you may see on CSI. We don't have walls that we can touch and have computer screens pop up. That's TV. But we have a very good program. We have our community relations. You know, we have our volunteers that helped us all through. And I want to recognize whoever isn't already a volunteer. I see a couple of them here. Please stand up and be recognized, because I know you guys have been through the Citizens Police Academy and you helped us through. So this is one of our prerequisites to become a volunteer, is we want you to go through. That's how much you get to see. You become a volunteer by going through our Citizens Police Academy and learning. And what our volunteers do, these are folks that come out, and I mean, I can't say anything more than the volunteers. They come out in the middle of the night sometimes when we need them called. We've had them out on bad fires. We've had them on critical incidents, missing persons. And then a lot of times they'll come out on pre-scheduled event, and they volunteer. They come out, they support us, they take care of so many things that we need done. There's never enough hands when an incident's happening, and there's always something for them to do. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate 6, I believe, from this current class have had interest in becoming a volunteer with us. So I look forward to working with those that are going to do that. And to the rest of the class, if you have the time at a later time, we'd love to have you. We'd love to bring you on board, because we always use a few more hands to carry things out. One of the other things that they get to do, and this is the more people we can get to learn this, you learn CPR, you become CPR certified, and you get a little bit of confidence in working with that. So that if emergency happens, not only to just someone out on the street, but to your families, you can do CPR. And they went through 2 weeks of that and became qualified and certified with that. Just want to say, because I read the evaluations, right? And it's very important to me that we have a quality program as it goes through, and to make sure that the message of the Gloucester Township Police that we all is getting received. And I was thrilled with the quality of instruction. I hope you were, from the feedback that I got. Here's just a couple of the comments that we received back, because every week we do an evaluation. You get to write down what we did right, what we did wrong, what we can do better, so that we can learn. And I appreciate your honest input, because that's how we make this a good, solid program. Here's some comments that we heard. I like the videos to show examples of what the police are teaching. I understand the process they go through when handling a complaint. Another comment, very informative on all levels. Nice tour of the building, of our trucks, cars, and good explanations of everything that was shown to us. Another one, very interesting information. This was very different from lead back in grade school. A whole different era of drugs that we're encountering as trends change. I hope you saw that. Another quote, I enjoyed seeing the equipment and all the hands-on activities that were given to us. Another one, it was nice to experience the events that police officers experience on a daily basis. This one, a true eye-opener for the general public. That's our goal, to let you see what's actually happening, and know how serious that we take it here. Over and over again, the evaluation contains the words informative, exciting, interesting, and that they were a great experience. And that's our goal. Our goal is to give you a great experience so that we could see it. I often say this to people who question, and I don't mind getting questioned about how we do things. If we make mistakes, we own them, we fix them, and we move on. But even those that don't understand things, I always recommend that they take the Citizens Police Academy. And I think it will change your perspective on things. You'll see why we do things in a certain way, why laws are done, different law enforcement agencies, what they do, and how we are committed 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days, 52 weeks a year. The lights never go off in this building, and someone's always working and doing things. So I hope that you received that information and enjoyed your time. So without further ado, I'm going to just put in one more plug. Next year's Citizens Police Academy is scheduled to start on January 19th, 2023. And that'll take us through the 14 weeks. Sign-ups will begin in November, in the fall. We'll put it out on our social media. We'll put it out on our website. So I encourage you, those that just attended and are graduating tonight, please spread the word. Tell others. We would love, they don't have to volunteer. You saw what we do during things. It's enjoyable. We feed you. We always have stuff for you to get you through the night and have our breaks. But please, we'd love for people to come see what we do. There's nothing like transparency than actually coming and seeing the operations in action. So thank you. With that, I'm going to call you up. And when I call your name, I just ask you to please come on up, and I'll present you your certificate with Vice President Trotta. Salvatore Altamari. I just asked you to come back. Watch this. Picture, so go in front of the table. Kevin Davis. Kevin's a two-timer at least. Hey, you can come back as many times you like. He's been through the program because he learned something all the time. Yeah, Kevin, but I got to tell you, Kevin, and they'll tell you, the other volunteers will tell you, Kevin is always volunteering when we have a call for need. This gentleman is always there. I see him all around. Yep. Mr. John Dawson, please come. Yeah, sorry. Mary Hendricks. Linda Flinard. Chase Flynn. Paul Krug. Jemiah Johnson. Joshua Lafferty. Louis Leone. Mercedes Medley. Anna Maria. William Morales. Carol Nicholsberg. Walt Nicholsberg. Angela Nowacki. Victoria Ulanina. Terry Thomas. And last but not least, Deloria Walker.
Congratulations.
I forgot to mention.
Move down here, we're just kind of center in the room here.
I forgot to mention that every graduate receives one of our Citizens Police Academy challenge coins. So. Are we gonna get a picture? Again, I just want to thank each and every one of you. I can't say it enough. I understand the commitment of your volunteering to come out every week for 14 weeks to learn about us. I can tell you, I can speak on behalf of the men and women of the Gloucester Township Police Department. We really appreciate that. And that's not just lip service. We want people to learn about what we do. When you're out there and we encounter encounters, you're going to have a little bit different perspective. You're going to be able, when someone questions a police procedure or you see something, you're going to be able to speak up and say, there's a little bit reason, this is the reason why that maybe they did that. So I want to thank you. And for all those that are going to volunteer and those that do volunteer, again, from the bottom of my heart, we appreciate what you're doing for us. Thank you. You are a great example of this community of Gloucester Township citizens that work together with us. So thank you very much.
You just closer or you
Sir,
go?
I don't want to hug the
Okay.
cop. Or you may shoot me.
All right. We'll take a couple. 1, 2, 3. All right. Looking good. Thank you. Actually, no. You need to get closer. I can see it all on the screen, but not
My
on the
younger
picture.
crowd, do you want to come in front and try on taking me?
He doesn't handle forensics photos, does he?
No. No.
I got a picture coming.
You're doing that track stuff.
All right. Not at all.
At this time, I ask Council Vice President Trotto for a few words. Yeah.
On behalf of Mayor and Council, we would like to congratulate all of the graduates tonight. Thank you for your time and commitment to our community and making it a better community. And thank you, Chief, and to the Gloucester Township Police for your continued success in bringing these programs to our community and helping us learn what you all do day in and day out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Vice President. My class, graduating class, can I get a round of applause for Lieutenant Capana, Corporal McLaughlin, and Officer Walden? They did it. Thank you, congratulations.
Hungry.
We're gonna take a 10-minute break.
But you said she was back.
I know we have. Bring it way back.
They do it like Thursday night.
So that citizens will be in January. It's Thursday. Yeah, no, you'd love it. I'm telling you, you get to see the dispatch. I mean, people are. It's very teachable. The computers don't get this cognition. Never always. Never turned off. Yeah, it's very good. We always get people. I'm telling you, these things. He tells other even Yeah. How much was it? It's the biggest part. It's, I mean, it's the biggest part. It's the biggest part. The system. I think it's the government. Yeah. That's it. Mhm. So. Just don't have like, that's my cell phone. That, it's the email. Excellent. If you have any. Oh, sorry. Yes, we reviewed this a couple weeks ago for the right away at the lofts. We flipped over it, rang the bell immediately. They're gonna vacate that or consolidate all those lots. I'm pretty familiar with the project. We already had a pre-con broke ground.
Okay.
Looks like they're just trying to consolidate this into one huge lot. I take no issues with that.
They're doing consolidation.
I just talked to Dave, and he said it's by right, so I don't think they even need it.
They don't, not statutory, sometimes they don't. Yeah. That's the- You're good, I'm good.
I did.
Yeah, I'm not changing the order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison. Ms. Grace.
Present.
Mr. Munoz.
Here.
Mrs. Estrada.
Here.
Mr. Carlemere.
Here.
Mr. Curtis.
Here.
Mr. Trombley.
Here.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. Chadwell.
Here.
We'll now have our first public portion. This is for agenda items only. Anyone addressing council may speak one at a time. Once all those wishing to address council have had their turns, they may address council second time. This public portion is for 15 minutes. Any questions? Paul?
Evening, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. I'm sorry, Chief, we just had such a beautiful ceremony, but I am going to ask about Resolution 181 with regard to the police tactical robot. If we have one in service, so my question here is, we know we're trying to keep the municipal budget down, and do we need another robot, and what's the utilization rate of this robot?
Yes.
So the one that we're looking to replace, we have two. One is analog, which is just about obsolete, which is 10 years old. The other one we have is 8 years old. And that is very well used. We're having connectivity issues. It worked probably, if you saw it if it was at the Citizens Police Academy, with not between walls and distance, but the batteries are starting to go. The capabilities that have come up with the one we're looking at will give us more capability with an arm. So it's past its service life of about 5 years. We have 8 years out of one and 10 years, which is the backup out of that. But that one's got to completely come out of service. The deployment, the amount that gets deployed, it depends on the number of critical. Since we have at least 5 it is a life-saving. It stops us from having to send officers into a house, maybe a dangerous situation. This one allows our negotiators to talk through it when someone won't answer a phone. They can actually communicate. It also has visual capabilities, which we don't really have now, so that the officers can see where they are. This one will go up steps, which was a problem that we have now, that depending on the debris and whatnot, this one, the ones that we're looking at that have better capabilities for going up steps to second floors and whatnot. And what this is used for is we have someone inside who's barricaded into a house or a building or an area. In the past, when I was a SWAT officer, we didn't have that capability. We had to send officers into those situations to actually see what's going on. I mean, we can only sit outside for so long when we don't make contact and whatnot. This robot allows us to go and see what happened, where the person is, make contact with them. We can search most of the house without actually putting officers in harm's way until they have to follow through. So we got tremendous service like the ones that we have. Number with me, we're looking to see how the vision, but I can get that number for you.
Sure.
In the budget,
Yeah, what
it's listed as 55,000.
Yeah, 55,000.
Okay.
Is this something we could possibly get through the DOD program
So
that you've applied for?
So we've tried to get the DOD. I had a DOD one. The problem with those, the ones that the DOD have are specific for bomb disposal, and the device that we have, you saw, it's similar to the one that you may have seen at the Citizens Police Academy. One person could pick it up, put it down, and be able to traverse through a house. Some of the ones that the DOD have are not capable of doing that. They're made to go in and actually pick something up, so they're big and have big motors on them. This is specific for surveillance for SWAT tactical purposes, where those are EOD designed. So we did look at them. We tried to get one. We're on a waiting list because if we could get one, we would have certainly got it for nothing. But we tried to do that. We do have one. I'm sorry. We do have the one that we have from the DOD. But that one's at least probably about 7. Well, it was it was deployed in Iraq or something. So quite a while ago.
Okay. And barring someone throwing this, the expected lifespan would be a decade?
At least minimum of 5 years. We hope to get 10 years out of the maintenance that we do on them. As the technology improves with shock absorption and stuff like that, they're built better. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else for the first public portion? Seeing none, I close the first public portion. We now have ordinance adoption, second reading for ordinance 22-07. Do you read that?
Ordinance and redevelopment plan for block 17001, blocks 39 to 45, and block 17006, blocks 1 to 22.
We'll now have a public hearing on that. Anyone? And I understand also there's some folks here that represent that. If you want to come up and say anything. Or if not.
Just trying to avoid plan or council planning reason.
This is an ordinance for the Brickwood redevelopment plan. This did go to the planning
planning board did review it and determined it was consistent with the.
speaking to
Sorry.
It's the first time for you. Apologies. Yeah, Joseph Trungolo. This did go before the planning board. The planning board determined that this is consistent with the master plan. The purpose of this redevelopment plan would be to allow for the Pretty Woods improvements and to allow it to be utilized for affordable housing. Be happy to answer any questions you may have. We have representatives of the developer here as well, and we have Stan Shaleka, sorry Stan, who's the township's redevelopment planner who prepared the redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public? Denise? Ms. Shirley, you can go right after Denise.
Good evening, Denise Coyne, Shoes Landing Road. I asked at the June 13th meeting how this ordinance came about, and nobody could tell me. And I believe Mr. Hutchinson said it required an investigation. So I'm wondering if somebody can tell me now how it came about.
Well, I believe that the area that's targeted or designed to be this redevelopment is a blighted area. Perhaps planner can make some comments on that. And it qualifies for, the plan was to see if it qualifies for redevelopment investigation.
The area has been designated the area in need of rehabilitation, which allowed us to prepare the redevelopment plan. So council authorized us to proceed with the preparation of the redevelopment plan. It was prepared. First reading was heard, and then it went to the planning board for consistency review, and now it's before us. But the area had already previously been designated in need of rehabilitation. As you know, with redevelopment, it's a multi-stage process. You make that designation as to whether or not it is an area that meets the criteria under the statute to be deemed in need of rehabilitation. Once that's done, the redevelopment plan is prepared, and that's where at that second stage.
Could you describe what's there now, empty buildings, or what's there now?
Actually, I'll leave that to Mr. Jeff Long from Ingerman. He'll be able to describe the properties better than I can.
I can serve as.
You can bend away from me?
Yeah.
All right.
Should I sit down and come back? Or-
Igor, if you want to just sit right there, that's fine.
I'm just gonna grab a chair. Coordination. Okay.
Is this,
You're good.
I can do this, okay. Hi, Jeffrey Long with Ingerman, and I'm the developer for the property. The entity that we're developing this under is Brittany Woods LIHTC LLC. This is my attorney, Kate Coffey with Dave Pitney. She works with us on our land use applications. So just as a point of background here, what we're talking about today are 3 buildings that are in the Brittany Woods subdivision. A building on Prospect Avenue and 2 on Yorkshire Court, leading right to the playground right at the end of the cul-de-sac. 29 total townhouses. This was a property that was built roughly in 1982, maybe 1984, sometime in the early 1980s. It was built under the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, 515 program. And that was the original source of financing here. It has always been an affordable housing development, and has always been a rental housing development. So for the last 40 years, it's been owned and operated by the Heshkowitz family. And at this point, it's reached the end of its useful life and is in need of rehabilitation. We have secured funding to do that. And what we're talking about specifically when we're talking about redevelopment in this context is we want to build one 1,600 square foot community building right here. And here is on Edenshaw Road, right in between building A and building active property management on the site. There's no management office located at this development. And the core goal of what we're trying to accomplish here is to make sure that there's a manager and a maintenance person available at the site at all times. Because from our experience, and just to step back one step, we, Ingerman, own about 7,000 units, mostly of affordable housing across the Mid-Atlantic. And our experience in operating these types of developments is that the developments work a lot better and the service to the residents is a lot better when you have active on-site management. And so as part of our rehabilitation of the units, we also want to build a 1,600 square foot management office with a maintenance office as well. And there'll be some communal areas, a gym, a social service suite, along into that building. And so that's the crux of what we're trying to accomplish here. And yes, we are building a tot lot as well on the corner. And that is the general core of what we are talking about. You can see a rendering here. This is a one-story building with a gabled roof right here. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about a community building. I'm just going to turn this around for council. The lower picture here is what we're talking about as a community building. And if you see on the top, that is what we're talking about in terms of the unit rehabs. And if you see the picture inserts, that's what it currently looks like today. And when we complete it, it's what it will look like when it's done. So overall, what we're trying to accomplish is bringing this up to an attractive standard, renovating the units, which are useful and important asset to the town from its affordable housing compliance. But what we're trying to do is make it more aesthetically attractive. And as part of this, we are going to be extending the affordability restrictions, which are set to expire for another 30 years with a 15-year option. So what we're talking about is having 45 years of additional affordable housing compliance on this property, which will help the township make sure that it meets its goals and reduce the amount of affordable housing it needs to build new. So it's an important piece of making sure that your housing compliance works well. All this is coming with no requested pilot, so we'll continue to pay conventional taxes. The redevelopment that we're seeking here is solely and specifically because it's a procedural issue. We're able to present this to council and basically attach this to the plan and say, this is what we're building. We have to bring it into planning board that it looks like this. And that's the end of it. So, it's a lot of procedure. There's a lot of back and forth, but the simplest way to summarize what we're trying to accomplish here today is we'd like to build this building because we think it'll make the management of this property work better. And that's what we're asking for the council to adopt in this ordinance.
Denise, do you have additional questions or does that help? I do.
Okay, as far as Mr. Petrangelo saying that a study was done, that's confusing to me because the entire township is an area in need of rehabilitation. So I'm not sure why a study was required to determine that it's an area in need of rehabilitation. The whole entire township is. So I'm not understanding why a study was done. And if a study was done, who paid for it?
Mr. Petrangelo or
The developer paid for it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. The approximately the 70s, I believe it was. Is that correct, Sam?
Stan Slahedka, and I authored the redevelopment plan. And I'm the township redevelopment planner. The township in its entirety was designated as an area in need of rehabilitation under the older 5-year tax abatement and exemption statutes that were in existence in the 1970s, predating the existing local redevelopment and housing law. Under the terms of the local redevelopment and housing law, you were able to grandfather that rehabilitation designation. So there was no independent study or a study specifically on this property. It's based on the rehabilitation designation that the township adopted in the 1970s that was grandfathered into the current redevelopment law.
That is not an unusual township-wide rehabilitation areas. A rehabilitation area is slightly different than a redevelopment area. It eliminates the potential for eminent domain, and it eliminates the potential for long-term pilot projects. That's the difference. The criteria is different for a area in need of rehabilitation as opposed to a redevelopment. But many municipalities have done this. Collingswood, for example, has done this. It's not an unusual technique to determine an entire municipality to be considered in need of rehabilitation. And we're able to take advantage of that determination and utilize this to prepare the redevelopment plan here.
There was a recent study done for this project.
For rehabilitation?
Yeah, I'm trying to get, I think Denise is under the opinion that there's a recent study.
There-
I was told there was a recent study done.
There was-
a development plan that was completed and prepared on June 6, 2022 by FEMA.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the plan, I'm talking about the study. Mr. Petrangelo said there was a recent study done.
No, I said that there was a recent redevelopment plan was prepared. That we are relying on the prior, the
Yeah, I
area
understand
of.
that, but when you said there was a recent study, at the planning board meeting, you said there was a study done, I said recently, and you said yes.
Redevelopment plan, yes. That's what we're talking about. That's what this
I didn't
ordinance
say
is to
plan,
adopt.
I said study.
Okay.
I said there was.
I think we have
Okay, so there was no
clarification.
recent study, that's fine. The plan, the ordinance states that the developer is going to pay a proportional share of that. Can somebody tell me how that's determined?
Yeah, well, they, Mr. Long, you posted escrow monies.
Yeah.
I think it was 5,500. That's correct.
I'm sorry, how much was that? A separate development? Be rehabbed as part of.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Those rental townhomes are being split off of the rest of Brittany Woods, and it's becoming a separate entity.
As a separate redevelopment plan, is that what you're saying? Did
Yes,
we-
it's going to be separate from Brittany Woods.
So there's a lot of advantages to having the area designated in need of redevelopment, having it as a separate redevelopment plan. Frankly, it gives the township much more control over the process. We're able to, under the redevelopment statutes, negotiate and designate with the redeveloper specific requirements. As we've already said, we're able to say that this is the building, these are the plans. Under traditional zoning, you can't do that. So the advantage to having this area deemed in need of redevelopment allows us to get specifically what we want and what we as a municipality want to see developed in the area.
Are you asking if it's the whole Brittany Woods being?
No, my
rehabbed or
No, my
just
question is they're existing 29-unit townhomes. They already exist. I'm asking why it's necessary to split them off from Brittany Woods rather than have these people come in and redevelop them as they are as a part of Brittany Woods.
Go ahead.
There is no subdivision off these three buildings.
For the avoidance of doubt, these 29 units are under common current ownership right now. The Haskowitz family owns these. They don't own any other of the townhouses in there. This was developed and under sole ownership of one entity. And we're under contract to purchase just these units and rehab just these units because these are the only units that I'm aware of that are under the affordable housing regulations within Brittany Woods. So we're keeping the rentals as is and purchasing only the rental units that are associated with these 29.
Brings up another question. So if you're the sole owner of these 29 units and they're going to be 100% affordable, does that allow you the ability to obtain financing and incentives because it's 100% affordable, whereas if it was still not purchased by you and part of the entire Brittany Woods development, those incentives would not be available?
Well, just once again, for the avoidance of doubt, these are 100% affordable currently.
Right, but they are currently part of a bigger neighborhood, most of which is owner occupied townhomes or condos, whatever. This is a small percentage of that development, which is residential rented units. So if you are now purchasing only these units and there's a separate rehabilitation plan only for these units, that makes these units 100% affordable. Does that not allow you special tax incentives, grants, or whatever that wouldn't be available to you otherwise if they weren't 100% affordable?
I mean, I'm sorry, they're currently 100% affordable now, and they're under current ownership of one entity. I understand that it's part of a larger subdivision that was created by a land use ordinance probably a longer time than I've been alive. But these are under current ownership. They're 100% affordable. The financing that runs with them is specific only to these units and specifically for the purpose of furthering affordable housing and specifically preserving affordable housing in this case.
So the financing you got was because it's 100% affordable.
Correct.
All right, the ordinance on the township's website states the redevelopment plan for this, section 4 under goals and objectives. It says the second goal states that it is to expand the regional supply of affordable housing. These units are already affordable, so I'm not understanding how this is going to expand affordable housing.
They're going, I'm sorry. Yeah, the units will expire.
When?
I don't know the date. Do you know when that will expire?
It's within the next 5 years.
So the units will expire, and this is going to allow us to continue that additional 45 years.
Okay.
Otherwise, those units would be gone.
Okay, so it's not really expanding our affordable housing currently.
It's expanding it for an additional 45 years.
But it's maintaining our current, right now, these 29 units are included as a prior obligation.
And
So it's maintaining those
units would go away. So we are keeping it consistent with our housing element fair share plan, which these units are part of, and we've expanded it for another 45 years, providing the units that meet our need.
Okay, now it's my understanding that the deed restrictions expired in 2002, but there's still affordable housing units.
There's a USDA deed restriction that requires them to stay affordable for 45 years to 50 years, which is what is governing their affordability currently.
Okay, because there was a 50-year mortgage on the property,
Correct.
correctly? So if they were built in 1982, then the affordability restriction doesn't run out until 2032?
It's a 40, yeah, but there is prepayment allowance on the tail of the project. So that's what the threat is.
Okay, so if somebody was to pay off the 50-year mortgage, then there's a possibility that they would no longer be affordable.
Correct.
But currently, as of right now, they are affordable housing until the year 2032.
Well, correct until or unless they're paid off or there's not a viable financing option to redo them.
Okay, so. The fifth goal states, support the implementation of the Gloucester Township Housing Plan element. Can somebody explain that one to me?
Well, we have an approved housing element fair share plan that was adopted by the planning board, was endorsed by council,
Right.
and this is advancing that plan. This is in conformance with our plan.
How's it advancing the plan though?
Because it's in conformance with it. The plan specifically states that these properties to meet our township's affordable housing obligation.
Okay, so
That's exactly what it's doing.
conforming to the plan.
Ms.
All right.
Grace,
Hold
hold
on
on one
have a
second,
question.
Ms. Grace,
I'm a little frustrated because there's a lot of questions. But I just want to know, Ms. Coyne, have you spoken to any of the stakeholders in that community about that it's been 45 years? I understand these are units that don't have working stoves, the floors are not good, there's, there is a lot of work.
I'm not questioning the need for the
I'm wondering if you-
rehabilitation
So
at
are you
all.
not excited about a project that's gonna help low-income folks?
I'm
that
not saying anything
are
about,
in need?
don't want them to help low income folks either. I'm trying to understand why it's necessary to split these units off and why it's necessary to have a rehabilitation plan to rehabilitate rental apartments. It happens all the
So
time.
that whole area, my understanding is mostly, if not 100% rented. The other developments are privately owned.
Right, I understand.
So how can they develop when that's a privately owned individual? There's about 300 more homes on that side, but they're owned by each person. They're buying up that property. That's individual, it's not rental units.
I
Some
understand
of
that
them
as well,
are,
yes.
some, but they're still owned by someone and they're renting it to someone. So it's, yeah.
I didn't say that. Why are people putting words in my mouth? I'm trying to understand this, that's all. I'm trying to understand how this works, that's all.
Have you gone to that community at all? Have you asked these people, Denise, how they feel about this?
Did I say I didn't want this done?
Well, here's how it looks
I
like.
didn't say that.
You're trying
I didn't say that at all.
I got you.
I'm not at all.
Okay.
I am not at all.
I appreciate her asking the question.
Thank you. Can somebody tell me why it's necessary to supersede the existing RA zoning?
Again,
Residential
with
attached.
the redevelopment plan, that gives us the ability to have better control over the property,
Right.
over the plan. We're able to specifically incorporate these designs into the project. It gives us more control, better abilities, and to ensure that we get appropriate development.
But why do you have to supersede the RA zoning? You're not answering the question.
I did answer the question. That's why, because it gives us as a municipality better control to ensure that we get the project that
Yes,
we're looking to get.
I understand that concept, but my question is the RA zoning is residential attached. So what is this now going to be if it's
It
not going to be
requires-
residential attached?
Residential attached, it requires the units to remain affordable units.
Right,
Our typical zoning does not do that. The redevelopment plan does. The redevelopment plan specifically has design standards in there to make sure it's meeting the standards that we want to have for the affordable units. Typical zoning does not. That's the advantage, and that's one of the reasons why you do redevelopment. It's
Okay,
a
so-
public-private partnership that allows us to work with the developer that we cannot do under traditional zoning.
I understand that too. I'm asking specifically for this project. Is
That's
it
the answer.
because it's not 10 acres?
It's because it gives us the ability to specifically get the improvements we want here and to specifically require that these units be 100% affordable and remain 100% affordable. The typical zoning does not.
Okay, and my last question is, I always thought that Gloucester Township's affordable housing plan, one of the goals was inclusivity. And this seems to me like it's more segregating these rental units off from the rest of the community that's not rental units. And I'm wondering if somehow that goes against what I thought Gloucester Township's goal was for affordable housing of inclusivity.
This is in our approved plan. So it meets the goals of our approved plan. It's in our plan that was approved by the courts. It's in the plan that has been approved by the planning board and by council. The overarching goal, inclusivity, is an overarching goal. It's not specific. This is currently now 100% affordable.
But
We
it's
are
part-
now
It's
continuing.
part of bigger Brittany Woods.
It's part of bigger, but this is a separate property, separate lot. It's its own section, and this is 100% rental units. Rest of Brittany Woods is owned. It's
Right.
privately owned. We're continuing the use. It's already here. We're improving it. And we're allowed to extend the affordable housing protections on it. That's the benefits.
Is it gonna have a different name than the rest of Brittany Woods?
We'll put up a sign that says the Willows at Brittany Woods, which is just our identifier to give it some placemaking, so that way people are aware that this is our section of it, which goes into defining the space and creating a more inclusive rental community, because now you'll have more typical rental amenities that you don't have currently on the site.
Okay, so the playground and the clubhouse are going to be exclusive to the rental units, correct?
Therefore, they're those specific tenants, correct?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Shirley?
I remember you. My name is Shirley Johnson. I live in Brittany Woods. Okay, and I just want to make something clear to you. Okay, I know you guys know more than me, but I know a lot as well. Brittany Woods, what's her name, Miss Sue?
Miss Point.
Miss Point. Brittany Woods and the apartment complex we call it, has always been on that side of the street. We just found out, if I'm correct, when we started Brittany Woods Community Action Group, that they were considered Brittany Woods. We didn't know that. I've been here since 1981. I didn't know they were part of Brittany Woods until today. Until we had our meetings and so, I said, oh, to answer your question, because we were confused for a while ourselves. Heard you said community center and playground. Are you gonna tear down my playground?
No.
That's what everybody said before.
No, it's just.
Can you come up here again?
Sure. This is the existing community playground will remain.
Yeah, well, this is the one that you gave me at the meeting here.
Mhm.
This is where my playground is.
Yes,
Where's your playground?
over here.
On the corner
Correct.
of Prospect.
Correct.
How come it's on the playground?
This is an old, newer plan. This is the playground here.
So this is the old one that you gave me. This is the
Correct.
older one that you had drawn up.
Correct.
Can we have a copy of that?
Absolutely.
My next question is, when you start doing this redevelopment over there,
At this point, we're looking at the fall of this year,
September,
October, more likely.
and now, so here we go. I met with you and you've already talked to me, and we know each other kind of. I just want to say, when you start your redevelopment over there, how are you going to protect the playground? Are you going to fence it till your redevelopment project is completed? Because my go here every single day.
Okay.
And they also go there in the morning before they get on the bus.
So I think that the best way to handle this is that it sounds like my construction team needs to meet with you and we need to figure out what the correct way to access that is. So that way you have adequate pedestrian.
Thank you. We'll save the questions for later. I'll go home and think of some other stuff to ask you. Because I met with him. I'm gonna have other questions for you. Because my children in our community, this is where we thrive here in this park. So I don't want you to tear our park down because you're doing this great, wonderful thing.
No, in fact, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's in your Green Acres program. So that's sacred. I mean, you can't touch that. No one can touch that park. I can't touch that park, and I don't want to speak for the town, but
Okay.
you know, you have to do a lot of stuff. And that's not very possible to even take anything out of the Green Acres program.
I won't
So-
let them tear that
When you get
down,
ready to do all these.
Shirley. I won't let them tear that down.
No, but putting yeah.
When you get ready to do all the things you're gonna do.
Yeah.
We have to flyer our community and let them know, okay, the park is off limits, because my kids will be climbing all over your equipment, I'm telling you right now. So you're gonna have to do something to
let us know that the park is gonna be off limits for a certain amount of time or whatever.
No, I think it's appropriate that you and I and the community stakeholders sit down and meet. So that way you understand not just what we're doing, which I think you see on this plan, but how we're going to do it, because it's going to happen in stages.
Yes.
So it'll happen here and then move up.
Okay.
So, but this is something that we should talk about, and, we'll get your number and you'll get to know our construction people and there'll be a line of communication open.
He's mentioning
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me have that time, because I'm gonna have more questions later on as this process. How many meetings have you had with the stakeholders so far? I understand you have met with the community already. Has it been 1, 2 meetings?
So, yeah, I've met with Miss Shirley before, and then we've had a community meeting already where we flyered the entire, post, and had, I think, 30 people from the residential community come to it, and we talked through this, and, it's an ongoing process. Rehabbing existing units that are fully occupied is always a challenge. So it's really about keeping a real open line of communication. That's what we've been trying to do. And like I said, we're looking at an October fall start with the first 7 units that we'll rehab, and then we'll go from there.
And will there be any more meetings with the community stakeholders before you decide to start?
Well, I think I have at least one that's scheduled right now. So, but and we'll be at the planning board for our land use hearing, but I mean, I'm very available. My office is in Collingswood, and we have a bunch of properties that are, Washington Township, Monroe Township. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. This is like a 15-20 minute drive for me. So I'm happy to meet with anyone. And yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ray?
And just so you're aware, this does need to get planning board approval. So there will be notice to all property owners within 200 feet. Full construction drawings will be submitted for review and consideration, and people will be able to see that.
Good evening, Council. Ray Poldor from the Historic Village of Ariel. A couple of questions that arisen, and it was in your earlier conversation. I believe the questions were asked before when the affordable housing had expired, and I saw you two gentlemen shrug. Ms. Coyne mentioned 2032, and no one responded to that. Can you clarify that for me, please?
I don't have the exact deed restriction available here. I mean, it's public record. It's available at the courthouse. I take no exception. I believe it's a 50-year time period, but I do know that there is basically a 40-year lockout with a 10-year tail. And so we're in that liminal space in between when anyone could come in and pay off the mortgage and then wipe out the affordability restrictions, which is why it's a threat right now.
That would be the exception, not the rule, correct?
No, it actually happened pretty recently at Colleen Apartments, which is in Gloucester Township. They were not residents.
That was one property or a group of properties?
That was three over 100 units. That was in Winslow Township. So this actually does happen a fair amount, and especially with aging affordable housing, the risk is real, and the possibility of losing those affordable units is a real issue.
Okay, so assuming that nothing changes, the possibility is that these will not expire till 2032. That will, as you said, I believe you said 2 different statements, and that's what I was looking for clarity on. You said that it would help us in our requirement for affordable housing. Now, we're always asking that question as affordable housing comes into the township, and the builders are adding affordable housing to the developments to which are being built. So it would not add to our requirement. What you said was it could help us with that required amount of state. But in essence, you later on said that it would, once it goes in force, let's say 2032, it would add additional 45 years on, and we would continue to stay in compliance. It wouldn't help our numbers. It would keep our numbers and keep us in compliance. Is that more correct?
Yeah, I think there's an important thing to note when controls on affordable units expire, they expire, and then the units are allowed to go away. When affordable units, when you renew the controls and you extend them, and many plans do this, and what COA previously and now the courts are allowing the municipalities to do is if those controls are extended as what is being proposed here, they are actually considered for the next round, which is coming up pretty soon in 2025. They're actually now considered new credits. So when we talk about expansion of your affordable housing obligation, it actually puts you in an advantage. And as mentioned before, those units don't have to be replaced with other projects elsewhere. So for the next round of affordable housing, which is coming up very soon, those would be considered new affordable housing credits.
Thank you for that.
But that would not take effect until these expire, correct?
No, these are part of our current plan. So they're part of our approved plan, and then they would continue into our next plan in 2025.
It won't. At that particular time when they renew, 10 years from now.
Well, then they count in our current plan that we have right now.
That we're
And they will
in
count-
compliance.
Correct, to keep us in compliance with our settlement. And then we'll continue into the next round.
Okay, and
So it's kind of,
apparently
I
a change has
understand.
been made, which does help this situation.
Absolutely.
And thank you for explaining that. And I guess I was not clear, or did I not hear a definitive response? At that time, will there be any abatements or pilots in this program?
You said
No.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance 22-07?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mr. Vignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes. On the consent agenda, do I have any council person with any issues, or do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mr. Vignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes. And sorry.
Resolution 191, resolution of the mayor and the township council of the township of Gloucester, authorizing the township engineers to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the improvements to Peter.
do I have a motion? Is there a second?
A second?
Roll call?
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Yes. Mr. Vignon?
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes. All right, we do have a GT eGov question. Denise Coyne, 1060 Choose Landing Road. Question for council. 1, the CDBG Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for the fiscal year 2020 states on page 5, during 2020, publicly owned land or property located within the jurisdiction that was used to address the needs identified in the plan included Gloucester Township Housing Authority Senior Campus 1 Senior Housing Complex. The CDBG 2021 Annual Action Plan lists a goal description on page 15, improvements to rental units for senior housing owned by Gloucester Township Housing Authority. Why is Senior Campus 1 listed in both reports as publicly owned, and it is actually owned by a for-profit limited partnership? All right, let's,
Responses are from Jake Lenicello from Triad.
thank you. All right, Jake answered. It is our understanding that yes, Senior Campus 1 is owned by a limited partnership. However, that limited partnership was created as part of an NJHMFA tax credit program that once ended will revert will revert ownership of the building back to the housing authority, the original owner prior to the program. Furthermore, it is our understanding that the LP is not a profit generating LP. For technical preciseness, we can correct this moving forward. However, the spirit and eligibility of the project does not change. Tom, anything you want to add to that one?
No.
Good. All right. Next question, the CDBG 2021 Annual Action Plan Public Hearing stated that eligible public facilities included those owned by the government or nonprofits. If Senior Campus One is owned by a for-profit limited partnership, how can CDBG money be spent on it? Again, answer from Jake is this is not a public facility project and the eligibility is not based on the ownership. It is based on who lives there. This is an eligible use of CDBG funds. Anything, Tom? You're good?
No.
Okay. Third question, who is employed in the Township Grant Administration Office? Thank you.
There's no one employed in Township Grants Office. Christy Eric, CFO, receives a stipend as Municipal Alliance Coordinator, and Regina Caristo receives a stipend for Blackwood West MPP Coordinator. These stipends are 100% funded from the two grants. I also work closely with Triad to coordinate any grants in my capacity.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, and the last question in that is, there was a substantial amendment to the 2020 and 2021 annual action plans for the CDBG program, $176,188 that was allocated for the acquisition of land for the construction of a park was reallocated to make improvements to a township building on the Black Horse Pike. Where was the land that was going to be acquired for the park? What township building on the Black Horse Pike was the money spent on? That, again, from Jake, the land that was going to be acquired for the park is no longer available and was sold privately. The township building that is planned for renovation is 3 Black Horse Pike, and those funds have not yet been spent. They are planned for the portion of the building that includes ADA improvements. Okay, so that's all we had for GTE Gov. We now will open the second public portion. This is for any item the public chooses, and there is a 30-minute time limit.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, yes, thank you. Ms. Shaughnessy?
Ms. Smithman?
Ms. Smithman?
Hello, good evening. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in on Millbrook Court, apartment 341. I apologize. I arrived early for the meeting. I had to go back to my apartment. I missed your ceremony. My apologies. I have a question about voting. I voted in the last election 2 weeks ago. Was it the 17th? 14th?
I forget what the 7th.
The 7th. I voted at the community center in Gloucester Township on, what is it, Broadacres Road?
The rec center.
That's recreational center.
Okay.
That's where I typically vote. When I went to the voting podium, the booth, I noticed that it was not my name on the ticket. I used their stylus to sign in. I went to my district. I believe it was District 28. I signed with the stylus into the computer program. I signed my name twice, my first name twice and my last name twice. My signature has changed over the years through exhaustion. My S opened up. It's no longer as they taught me opened up, but my original voting registration had a different S for the signature. So now I just signed it twice. to try to secure what little bit of myself I had left. When I got to the booth, it had somebody else's name on it. I said, she gave me the wrong ticket. I was told that as a voter, I'm to be given the ticket. The name is to be with the person that handed me the ticket. It's supposed to have their name on it. I don't know quite how to argue when there are two people working the voting poll. So I walked to 100 University Court, the Board of Elections, to ask if it was done properly. And they agreed with the people that worked at the election polling place at the rec center on Broadacres Road that it is supposed to be somebody else's name on the ticket. The name of the person that hands me the ticket is supposed to have their name on it. That's what I was told. I went to University Court, they agreed. They said that it has a hole punched in it and they take a string and they put it through and they tie it in a knot with somebody else's name on it. Whose name is supposed to be on the ticket that I hand to the person working the voting poll? Please speak into your microphone.
I don't know. I'm not aware. Yeah, I mean, to me,
Yeah,
that's something.
when you went to Board of.
When you vote and you sign your name
Yes.
Right,
and you're handed a ticket, whose name is on the ticket?
I don't know. I've never.
You never voted?
No, I've never had an issue to look. I
What would
vote.
be appropriate,
Please talk into your microphone.
excuse me, who's the, where should this question be directed? The Board of Elections? You should contact the Board of Elections.
I just told you I went to the Board of Elections
But why are you asking council?
because these are all voted, you're all elected officials. I have a question.
They gave you the answer that that was correct.
So you're in agreement that is supposed to be the person that works the poll. So every ticket that is handed to the person standing guard at the voting podium, you're saying that the person that works for the Board of Elections,
I'm not
that their
saying
name is on every ticket that is handed to them?
That's their role, the Board of Elections, and if that's what they're telling you, that's the answer to your question, there's no reason to doubt.
May I ask a question? Was the book that you signed on the electric pad, was that your name?
That was my name,
Okay, so the
the paper ticket.
yes, the ticket, so went over to vote.
I was handed the paper ticket when
What did you do with the paper ticket after you voted?
I don't have the ticket after I voted. I hand it to the person working the curtain. I hand it to that person. When I handed it to that person, I noticed that it was not my name on the ticket. It was somebody else's.
I believe that is for the board worker to show verification that you were checked in.
So it is to have their
And-
name on
and you
it?
give it to the person that has the curtain and they give it back to the person at the table. So that one ticket circulates back and forth as basically a checkpoint, that you were checked in and all of your things match.
Correct. It sounds like they're verifying you.
Yeah, it's kind of a checkpoint system.
Madam Vice President, so there is the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission handles any complaints. You can go online to their website, get a complaint form and file a complaint. They'll conduct an investigation. Local law enforcement or council is not allowed to be involved in any aspects of election law investigation. So that's your proper venue to go to. And I'll make sure that Officer Walden gives you the website, and you can file a report through that.
Do you have anything that does not require the internet? My cellular phone stopped working February 16th, 2022, because the technology was not upgraded enough.
It probably has a street address. We'll try and get you a form.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burns?
Good evening, Council. Brian Burns, 5 Silver Drive, Ariel. Following up to the last meeting regarding what's called a Rossi Recreational Open Space Inventory. At that time, Council did not know the status of the Rossi for the Roslyn Bridge property. Last week, I reached out to Jake again. Jake informed me that there was, at that point, no additional work has been done on the Rossi. I can read you his comment. It says, the status of the Rossi has not changed last in May. The township planner, which unfortunately, Mr. Trongo left, I guess he's gone.
To my, yes.
it would have been nice to be around for the remainder of the meeting. So we can ask him directly. The township planning board, township council agenda, that's the last of us submitting. So we can close the acquisition of this project. So it just seems like it's taken forever. I mean, Triad took responsibility of Ken Lechner's responsibilities in January. So July is around the corner. So we're talking 6 months to get this inventory to Green Acres. Is that common? I mean, a contractor can build a house in 6 months from the ground up. Why is this taking so long?
Is Rosslyn Bridge on the Rosslyn list?
It's responsibility
So you're saying
of the
it's not-
planner.
But the township owns it. It is dedicated, it's
Right.
restricted.
Right.
So the list constantly changes, and they're supposed to update those lists, I would imagine,
They're
periodically.
in the process of
So they're in
doing
the
that.
process of updating it. It just might not be updated with Rosslyn Bridge. But as you know as well as I do that.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but Triad won't move on to the Hayes and Murray properties until they're done with the Roslyn Bridge.
They can't move on to until they complete this.
This Rosslyn list, correct.
And after it's concluded on the Rossi list, we will then get reimbursed.
All right, so once again, it's been 6 months.
So the Hayes property, the Murray property, the Pompey property will be the next properties that we see.
When can we anticipate the Rossi being done?
I don't think on that. I just know that when I talk to Jake, they're in the process of doing that.
But you understand it's been 6 months.
I understand. So I've looked at your emails from January through
Right.
June.
I mean, is that acceptable to council, that something would take 6 months?
He communicated on June 21st to you,
Right.
and I believe is what he indicated was that they were working on the Brian. Let's see here. That they were working on the status of the Rossi has not changed substantially since our last email below. This was on June 21st, 22. Below May, the township's planner is currently working to have adoption resolutions placed on the planning board and township council agendas. That's the last step prior to us submitting to Green Acres for their review and approval so we can close out that acquisition project.
Yes, I'm familiar with
Let me know if you have any
the,
further.
Can we do anything to possibly tighten up the timeframe, like to ask them?
No, I can speak to
Try to, okay.
Again, I have all the
Yeah, no, I
emails
get it.
that.
yeah, I just, I mean.
Tracy, Mr. Petrangelo.
Yeah, Mr. Petrongelo's here.
That guy.
Thank you for,
All right, sorry. Yeah, we have talked to Triad, actually. We're going back and forth with Triad on having the Rossi updated. We're in the process of working on it. There's some mapping that has to be associated with it. We're working on that mapping and we'll get it submitted.
is there a timeline available for that?
Probably, well, it's got to go to the planning board. So the planning board has to approve it. So probably be in the, I'm looking for maybe the July meeting, second meeting in July for approval.
Okay. It's,
We're trying to get it out as quick as we can. That's the goal.
I just wanted to make council aware of where we were with that, and, Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Paul?
Evening, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. Just want to start with a statement because the interaction earlier perturbed me a little bit. What's beautiful about this system is that a citizen can come up to this microphone and regardless of your bias towards a project, ask questions about it. Whether the viewpoint aligns with your thinking or doesn't, the citizen has a right to ask questions about the projects happening in this township.
And the
And that's a
citizen
beautiful,
wasn't shut
and
down.
that is a beautiful system. So I just want to remind everyone that that's the beauty of this system. and words shouldn't be put in their mouth or viewpoints portrayed over them.
I think, if I can, Dan, I think the citizen was not shut down. All her questions were answered. I think we asked appropriate questions. There was nothing out of line. You asked questions, we answered. We're trying to understand where the person is coming from.
I agree with you. I agree. People have the right to come up, but there's a line that's crossed, and you can't ignore that. You can't. Okay.
Well,
It happened at the planning board meeting too.
I don't know what happened at the planning. I can just give you a viewpoint from watching it here.
There's words that are put into the planners, to people's mouth. By that individual. And it's always, there's always, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna catch you at something. So I'm sorry, that's a great project. The developer should
It
be
very
applauded.
well could be. Yeah, but she didn't say she was against it.
Oh, she never says she's against anything.
And I try not to put words in your mouth. I hope you recognize that. And I try not to overlay viewpoints to you. And I just think out of respect this way, it should be the same way.
Well, I think
And
we,
the
if
questions,
I think we agree, the respect should be mutual.
Yes.
Both
And it's
ways.
not. It's absolutely not.
So,
Half an hour of questioning with, it's not polite, okay? And it wasn't polite at the planning board.
but philosophically, the right to come up here and question is the beauty.
100%.
And we're all protected by that. And if you were on this side, you would expect those protections, right? So that's the point of my statement. And we're not, it's me or someone else. I'm just saying, hopefully we can have that type of dialogue and not view it as detrimental to our dialogue.
And Paul, I love the dialogue. I like the give and take. And sometimes it gets spirited, and that's all right too. Okay, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Couple quick questions. I was here for the development, I guess, ad hoc meeting that happened at 7. Couple things I wanted to bring up there. Please think outside of the facility itself. A facility of this size and its use case impacts quite a bit outside of it, meaning infrastructure. Tractor trailers have quite the impact on our roads. Who's gonna assume that cost? We are, right? The environmental impact, I'm assuming these tractor trailers are running on diesel. So you're talking about the air quality, especially for that residential community right next door, likely being impacted. You're also talking about, and this has been mentioned by others, congestion on the roads. I'm assuming that Cross Keys corridor is where they're going to be utilizing that to try to get onto 42 or the AC Expressway. So please think of those things, because the impact of a facility like this goes well beyond just the dimensions of that land. One other question, I hate to migrate into the past, but I did want to ask with regard to the votes on the budget. We didn't receive much of an explanation as to a yes or a no. President Mercado did suggest that overtime was at the crux of his no. I was hoping to hear from maybe Councilman Mignon on the reasoning behind his no.
Sure.
go ahead.
I mean, obviously, I didn't want to be part of raising taxes. I didn't want to see that happen this year. That's one. And number two, there's part of me that feels as though maybe we could use some of the CARES money this year.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Mr. Mignon. And I guess for the council members that voted yes, maybe where the disconnect for me is obviously it was kind of a split bunch. We had a 4-3. Were the issues expressed by your fellow council members, or at least seen by your fellow council members, did those stick out to you as well as concerns that need to be addressed? And if so, how are we going to move to address those concerns?
So, those concerns, I have
those concerns as well. Okay. I think that overtime is something. I think overtime is something that we need to pay attention to. I don't know how we're gonna do that yet, but I think that the administration needs to find a way to get that under control. The CARES Act money, I didn't have a problem. From the onset, I wanted to use half of it in year one, half of it in year two. I understand and respect Mr. Mignon's feelings on that. But I thought that had we used it all this year, it could create a problem next year, and I didn't want to do that. So.
Thank you. Your time is up, Paul.
Sure, thank you.
Denise?
Denise Coyne, Choose Lane Road. Mr. Hutchison, next time you accuse me of putting words in somebody's mouth, I suggest you watch the planning board video, because on the planning board video, you will see that Mr. Petrangelo said a study.
I didn't say an investigation.
That my interpretation of investigation, you, I stated Mr. Petrangelo made a study.
This morning, did you say here? Mr. Hutchison said we should conduct an investigation.
It required an investigation, meaning you needed to look into it, get me an answer.
Ms. Coyne, did you say?
I said, you said it required investigation.
But did I actually say that?
I wasn't quoting you directly. I did not say Mr. Hutchinson said quote unquote. I did not say that. And second of all, it's my right to ask questions of all you people, okay? For you to sit, or any of you to sit there and tell me that you think I'm against affordable housing. I never said that. I don't care what it sounds like. I didn't say that.
Okay.
I never said that. I am not against affordable housing, but regardless, that's none of your business. It's none of your business whether I'm against it or for it. Your job is to answer my questions, to be transparent and accountable. That's your job. What I say, how you read into it doesn't matter. It's none of your business how I feel, and it's none of your business what I believe. Your job is to answer my question.
Those questions were answered, so thank you.
Okay, well, I believe you owe me an apology.
I do not.
Oh, never said anything that I'm against affordable housing. I never said that. And for you to read into it is highly insulting. Yeah, think all you want to. And don't yell at me.
I am not yelling at you. I'm trying to get your attention because okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Mr. Polidoro?
Good evening again, Council. Ray Polidor from Ariel. As Ms. Smithman had asked the question of the process of the voting, I thought I would bring some light to what I think she was asking. And in the simplest form, the Board of Elections oversees the election and the process. The municipal parties will pick board workers. They're not officially part of the Board of Elections, but appointees. And the board workers in working, there's two different types of board workers. One sits at the desk, is verifying witness to the signature for one, the voucher. And one of those board workers is selected to be the judge at the machine. But I think Ms. Stevens' question, they pre-signed the voucher so that they can stay ahead and keep the flow moving during the downtimes in the middle of the day. So the board worker is actually signing that voucher and verifying and witnessing the voter's signature. So when Ms. Smithman is asking the signature that was on that paper, is the board worker that she checked in with who verified and witnessed her signature. So the signature will get obviously checked again at the Board of Elections when they have that record of signatures. But
Ms. Shaughnessy, Ms. Smithman,
Somebody
please.
else's name on it. They handed me the ticket, not the one that's in the booklet, the one they handed you.
Thank you,
Well,
Ms. Smithman, you had your chance.
And that's exactly the point. It has a signature of the board worker. The board worker basically is similar to a notary, standing there or sitting there, eyewitnessing you signing your voucher, so that when your signed voucher goes to the judge of elections,
Ms. Smithman,
okay?
Mr. Polidoro is speaking. You had your turn.
He's interpreting what I said.
Okay, that's a discussion you can have after. Mr. Polidoro, please continue.
So what she was asking is that signature was indeed, in my opinion, was the board worker. So that she brought the question to public. I know that you all have a pretty good idea of what all that is, but in order for Ms. Smithman to walk out of here understanding what we believe the process was, and those of us that do it all the time, she saw that signature of the board worker over. And then in the final tally, that voucher will accompany the voting machine and the votes and will be sealed, and no other person will look at it. So the only people actually touching that voucher is going to be the board worker who signed above her name and the voter themselves. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, that should clarify what she was asking.
No, my name is nowhere on that ticket.
And
my name is not on the paper ticket at all.
What she's stating is, if she's using the stylus, it is pretty much the same as the voucher. It's just being electronically recorded. And for all intents and purposes, it's a more modern version of what we have always done. And as far as the debate back and forth, which was going on here, it's going on for years. It will always go on. But I think sometimes as elected official, the public may find something that they deem passionate. What I witnessed in the back was similar to watching somebody ask a question about a project, and because of the proximity of that project, it bordered on kind of a class envy type or class warfare type comment addressed to the person that was asking the questions. And everything that goes on in this government, from you guys buying $1 million AstroTurf fields for the kids and playgrounds, and every little thing, the right to question and talk about is what this is all about. But it's not okay to make somebody out to be something different. This is a person who does an amazing amount of research, who reads. If I read on a daily basis, my brain would melt. I don't have the patience to do that. But all the research that she has always done and comes here with the questions, you may not like it, but she's asking that. And quite frankly, straight comes back, generally, someone's going to stop asking the question because they got a straight answer. But it doesn't mean that it's okay for an elected official to have a debate. And you guys get personal, and it's been a year since you've been on the road with other people that have come before you. I just think there's a better way of handling it. And again, please stay close to your microphones because it's just not easy to hear.
I gotta ask you this though, okay?
If the president council allows, or vice president allows.
Don't you think if the person was really interested in the project and had those questions, she'd at least take a drive up and see what's going on over there, talk to some of the people, get it in? I mean, these are units that don't have floors, that don't have appliances, that are severely impacted, okay? I mean,
Well, Dan, let's go back and forth with that. Now, wouldn't someone that owns that property already, isn't that a requirement to keep a development safe, or keep an apartment safe, or rented property safe, up to code?
You would think that, but the management team neglected those because they're low income. They're not going to speak up. I'm part of another organization that really works hard to support those who are low income, can't speak up for themselves, don't know how to speak up for themselves, don't know their tenant rights. Those folks struggle the most. Those are our most vulnerable population. So those folks that you think, because you're I don't know if you're college educated or whatever your background is, but you know how to follow certain protocols to get things done. Some folks don't have that, and they need others to advocate for them. to have that on site, a management team, to basically do the maintenance work, that's nothing they've ever had. Election, just talking to them. They haven't written a letter because one of the management company was her. She had been there 30 years. She'd been there 30 years. And because she for herself, he wanted to get her evicted. She wanted new appliances. Her appliances are broke. He was trying to evict her. So
May I interject real quick? You said there was a management team in existence now?
There's a on site. I don't know where they are, but I wrote.
It's a property management organization that the Gloucester.
So when you're most vulnerable population, when you speak up for yourself, people that have power will try to abuse that, because you're struggling and you need a place to stay.
And part of that can be figured out with the questions.
And for Ms. Coyne, when I spoke up, I was in shock because I know she's an advocate. She's an advocate for housing and low income folks. She wants to see that take place in our community. Here we are. We have someone.
And thank you for saying that, because that's a whole lot different.
So we have someone coming in to do a project of development for the most vulnerable populations in Gloucester Township. That's what I see. I've spoken with them. So Ms. Coyne, knock on their doors. They'll tell you how they're struggling. They'll tell you what look like with their how they've never been. They don't even want to basically go against some of those management companies because that manage them, because they feel like they're going to get evicted, and a lot have gotten evicted.
May I ask this then? The council that's voting on that, and the ladies and gentlemen that showed up here to make that presentation, wouldn't they already have done that as well? And by Ms. Coyne coming up here and asking all of you and those presenters here, wouldn't that be something that you would already know the answers to the question, rather than having her go knock at doors at people that she doesn't know and don't know her? She's coming here to ask those questions. Wouldn't it be more appropriate or comfortable to have those questions answered here than knocking on a stranger's door?
No, I mean, just saying that if you really want to know what's really going on in those communities, you should have conversations with those stakeholders. That's why I asked the question. Have they, the new developer met with the community stakeholders? Yes, they have. And they said they would meet with them again. Ms. Coyne should attend those meetings.
All right, I'm going to relinquish my time. I'd like
Thank you.
other people to speak.
Ms. Lovett, you'll be our last speaker this evening.
Thank you. Shirley Lovett, 742 Chatham Road, Somerdale. I just find it amazing, this whole conversation. First of all, the project is a great project. I don't think anybody is against it. And I'm here in defense of Ms. Coyne. All she was questioning was the process. If you are not on council, and even if you have been on council, and you go through the redevelopment process and all the things that go with it, it's very confusing. She was asking a procedural question, how the procedure works, what goes on from step to step to step. I don't think she was questioning the project, because it's a worthy project. And I'd like to say to Mr. Hutchinson, shame on you. Yes. Sure.
Who paid for the study?
I don't know.
She, Ms. Coyne, had a problem that a study was done.
But that's her prerogative to ask a question. You sit up there as a council person and it's my time, Dan, not yours. It's her time to ask the question. It's anybody's time that sits in that audience to ask any question they want, and it's your responsibility to answer it. You might not like the question. You might find it offensive. You might find it insulting. You might want to sit there going like this because you think they're wasting your time and you want to get home because it's late, but it's their prerogative. You ran for office and you won an election to sit there and answer these people's questions, not to fight, but then to try to switch it on them, to make them feel guilty, to make it out to be something it's not. Shame on you, and shame on anybody up there that does that.
Shelley, I respect you, okay, but you're wrong. You're wrong.
That's your opinion, and I think you're wrong. And guess what? This is my chance, my 5 minutes. I got 2 minutes and 53 seconds left. Because I sit here and I see how people get up here and the questions they ask. Well, you know what? You guys are really very lucky because you have a 5-minute time limit on what people can say. I've sat up there, the meetings have gone until 12 o'clock at night. I've been insulted, my feelings have been hurt, but guess what? You sit up there and you take it. You don't try to switch it around and make it seem like the other person is at fault, because that's what you're trying to do with Ms. Coyne. And if she gets something wrong or you don't like the way she says it, well, just say, I disagree. Maybe we could talk about it or something. Not try to make somebody or people feel something that they shouldn't. Just because they're smart, they're inquisitive, and they ask questions. And maybe that's what you don't like. You don't want them to ask questions. So just look in the mirror when you go home and think about the original reason why you ran for office and why you sat there, because you wanted to help people. I don't think you ran for election so you could sit up there and insult people. Thank you. Sure. Respond. You got 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Is this your minute and 30 or is it?
It's your minute now.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Shelley, at the planning board meeting, Ms. Coyne spent probably 30 minutes badgering, not just politely asking questions, badgering everybody, okay? And she wouldn't accept any responses. She knew more than any of the other professionals up there. She comes here today and she puts words in saying, I called for an investigation, putting words in the other individual's mouth. And then she sits up here and questions, did the township pay for this study? Did you guys pay for this thing? Why did you pay for it? And nothing about, this is a great project, and I want to see it go through. However, I have a couple of procedural questions. No tact, not at all, just constant aggression. And it's every single time. So guess what? When you come up, when you have that type of attitude, that's what you're gonna get, okay?
Oh, so you're telling me that if you don't like my personality and you don't like the way I ask a question and you think I'm condescending, then that's okay for you to be that way towards me.
If somebody comes up to the microphone and they're condescending to me, you think I'm gonna say, hey, really nice seeing. No, it's gonna affect my response to that individual. I'm human. Am I right? And you sat up here and you did the same thing when you were up here. It's nice for you to say you didn't, but you did.
Okay, the 5 minutes is up. I think we're very clear on where you both stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
That closes the second public portion, polling of directors.
Mr. Carlin.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Curtis.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Petrangelo.
Nothing to report.
Chief Harkins.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Chadwell.
Yeah, the 2022 road program is getting off the ground. They started on 13th Avenue, 5th Avenue, Highland Avenue, Peter Cheeseman, and Kearsley Road are. Thanks.
Mr. Hutchison.
Lastly, Ms. Coyne's presentation. I have to be honest and say I was wanting to know where that was going, because I kind of know Ms. Coyne from the Housing Authority meetings, and I do see her as someone that wants to see low-income housing projects developed. So I was taken back by your presentation, and I was saying to myself, wow, I know this development because I live right next door to that rental sections. They are mostly all Black and brown folks living there, struggling through the pandemic and now struggling through, the economic life that we're going through. They're struggling. I know because I talk to them. So I was shocked because I didn't see more excitement from Ms. Coyne. I'm not saying she's not an advocate for projects, but I was taken back by the amount of questions, and that's why I share my concern. But this is a great project, and this is gonna help. Some folks that, from my understanding, and I don't know if this, because I haven't talked to some of the residents, some of them are so low income that their rent is zero. And I don't know if that's how it works, but they're struggling, and the development is in, and on the other side is the Brittany Woods Community Action Group. They've been working hard to support and change the aesthetics of the community. Ms. Shirley Johnson was here, Ms. Donna Ellison was here, Ms. Laura Johnson was here, but a lot of the other supporters that come, and they work in that community to make it better. They met this Saturday. I was so proud of them. I was in that meeting. They brought in community leaders, and they are trying to brainstorm how they can make all these particular communities that be safe, secure, where their children can play. They want the same as anyone else in Gloucester Township. So I just wanted to share that because I have two passions, not just a councilwoman. I'm also a person of an organization that fights for rights of others. So the lowest income folks in Gloucester, they go out and they help. Miss Shirley, so I mean, these are great projects, and whatever the township and council and public works and the police department and the resources that are provided to those communities, they're needed. They're needed because we all are one. And as I always say to any meeting that I'm sitting in, teamwork makes the dream work. We have to stay and for us to be one. Thank you.
So I agree 100% that everybody and anybody can ask a question, but it's not always the question, it's the delivery of the question. And I'm sorry to say, sit up here and take it. I'm a professional. Everybody that I associate with and interact with, I expect the same back to me. Citizens of Police Academy, wonderful for them. Congratulations on being part of that. Then Ray, you had mentioned about the turf field. We did conclude our not only the volunteers, but by the community. We did have 2 rainouts, and we're going to look to, I did have a meeting with the parents. We're going to look to get better and stronger. I wanted to be the best league out there in all Jersey, and we're working to do that. And then on a different note, I want to say best of luck to all the little starting their district runs, especially the ones in our town. Oh, tomorrow. Okay, so
7 o'clock Wednesday, Thursday, 11 at your.
very good. Give them, as we used to say in Ariel, give them L. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Congratulations to our Police Academy graduates tonight. And a friendly reminder, July 15th is another movie night, Addams Family 2.
Mr. Mercado.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize. I came in late. I had a work commitment. And I'm sorry that I missed the Citizens Police Academy event. And I'm sorry I missed the comments that took place regarding the plan for Brittany Woods. Residents in Brittany Woods, they expect the same values and have the same desires as most of the residents in Gloucester Township, and individuals that took on those challenges along with our community and our administration. Crime rate has been lowered. Landlords and homeowners are maintaining their properties there. And public service is being performed there. And I understand that there are questions about the process. And I didn't leave here, I didn't leave with a good feeling 2 weeks ago that this plan, we didn't know much about. And so I'll take that on the chin, and I apologize, and I'm sure maybe some of my colleagues apologize, but I went through this plan over the last 2 weeks and read it inside and out. And it's going to help meet some of the needs and desires of the people that reside in that community. But one of the issues that I have, and I just feel a certain kind of way when projects have been identified in Brittany Woods, it is scrutinized. And that playground, we still talk about the playground that we have there. And that playground has been heavily scrutinized over the last 4 years. But we've had playgrounds in other neighborhoods in our township that no one talks about. Mr. Brown was here from Mulberry Station a few weeks ago, and he was tickled pink that he's getting a playground set. No one's talking about that. That's going up in Mulberry Station. But it's talked about in Brittany Woods. This project where we have a developer going into their own pocket and rehabilitating 29 units and creating a clubhouse and a meeting place. I understand the process, and people didn't like the process, but that gets scrutinized. And I just feel a certain way about why that particular neighborhood gets scrutinized. But folks can throw on a polo shirt and kelp clean before an election and take a photo up there. But
That's true.
let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. But there's a project here that is good for our community. We're investing in people and we're investing in our community. I understand people did not like the process, but there are folks that are always going to have a problem with a solution for some reason. And here's an opportunity to invest in those people, into that community, and to build it up. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Say
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Trotter, for running the meeting.